Good evening. He was just 16 years old, the victim of Toronto's latest homicide.
Police say Isaiah Foga was one of two people shot inside an Etobicoke apartment building last night. He later died in hospital. CTV's John Musselman is live outside that building tonight with the latest. John.
Well, Michelle, it appears it started on the 14th floor and then maybe moved down to lower levels between the suspects and the victims, and police are now looking for two suspects. Blood was visible on the walls, floors, and stairwells inside this high-rise building near Rathburn and the East Mall. Residents report hearing multiple shots ring out on the 14th floor. They also heard banging and shouting on the 7th floor.
First, the fire alarm went off, and then all of a sudden, me and my family hear these loud bangs on our door. So we go to see who it is, and then it's these two guys saying, "Call 911." So without question, we called them.
I came out and then I saw the guy going downstairs. That's all.
It happened around 5:30 last night at 7 Capri Road. Police say the shooting victim who died has been identified as 16-year-old Isaiah Foga. A second victim is listed in serious condition. This tenant, who did not want to show her face on camera, says family members hid in a bedroom when they heard yelling in the hallway. Then someone was also banging on their apartment door.
We haven't had a shooting here in a lot of years, so we didn't really know what to do.
I'm very alarmed by it. I'm very upset. It's very upsetting.
The motive for the shooting remains under investigation. The homicide squad has taken over the case. Police are searching for two suspects wearing masks who fled the building. Leslie Oduro is a tenant rep for the building. He says there are many young families living here.
It's quite dramatic. The little kids are scared. They were making comments, "Oh, last night someone died."
Oduro says last night's shooting brings back sad memories for him. His friend, 23-year-old Anthony Smalling, was gunned down outside this same building back in 2011.
I was 24 when that happened. I'm 38 now with two kids of my own, and for this to happen is a lot.
Police have not said if the victims reside in the building. Tenants we spoke to today did not recognize the victim as a resident of the building when we showed his picture. But some of the tenants did tell me that they recognize him as a visitor to the building, or at least in the neighborhood. Police are asking anyone with information to call Toronto Police or Crime Stoppers. Reporting live, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Also tonight, City Council unites in a show of support. Toronto's plan for a buy local campaign and its symbolic push back against the U.S. president.
On the campaign trail, affordability was on the minds of provincial party leaders today, all offering their ideas to make life easier for Ontarians.
Including a plan from the Conservatives to cut the cost of taking the 407. But Doug Ford signaled today the idea of buying the highway back appears to be off the table. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the details. Siobhan.
Well, Doug Ford suggested that the billions spent buying the 407 back would be better spent on building more highways. But one other party leader is sticking by a pledge to make the entire 407 toll-free.
It's been painted as a key to turn to unclog congestion. Ontario's tolled Highway 407, sold to a private firm in 1999. In a garage alongside the 407, the Progressive Conservative leader promises
the era of road tolls on provincial roads and highways, they're done, they're over.
Doug Ford says if re-elected, he'll take tolls off the stretch of the 407 the province controls, from Brock Road in Pickering to Highway 115 in Clarington. The price tag, $80 million a year. But a PC exploration of buying the 407 back seems to be off.
We have a capacity issue here. That's the problem. For 10 years, we know all 400 series highways are going to be maxed out.
The NDP leader has pledged to kill tolls on the whole 407 within 100 days if she's premier.
Why would I say right now, I'm going to pay this much? Why would I give that away to them? We're going to negotiate, and I'm going to negotiate tough with that company.
Ford has also promised to make permanent the temporary gas and fuel tax cut that shaves about 6 cents off a litre of gas. But New Democrats argue despite those kinds of moves, Ontario isn't getting more affordable.
After 7 years of Doug Ford, encampments are the new normal.
It's something Stiles insists she can end.
We will support municipalities with their shelter and community housing costs, And will also undo the damage that was done when Liberals and Conservatives downloaded housing to cities.
Promising 60,000 more supportive housing units and doubling supports for recipients of ODSP and Ontario Works. Campaigning in Hamilton, the Liberals made a similar pledge.
The Liberal Party of Ontario will double the ODSP.
It's a benchmark the Greens also support. The cost, unclear. Bonnie Crombie shared a personal story about her biological father who struggled with addiction.
He was in the Seton House, and I'm so relieved that places like that do exist and that can provide the care and support to people like my dad. So yeah, we need a lot more of that.
Campaigning in his home riding of Guelph, Green leader Mike Schreiner made a pitch to farmers.
We will permanently protect prime farmland in this province by developing a food belt.
Something Schreiner says is vital for the environment and to lock in food security.
Doug Ford has made tens of billions of dollars in commitments over the last week or so. Keep in mind, Ontario was supposed to return to fiscal balance next year. Today, Ford couldn't commit or say how long Ontario may stay in the red if tariffs are applied. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Now to your first look at the forecast. A live look outside. Dry conditions this evening. We had a nice dose of sunshine today, but certainly cold, and the wind chill is packing a punch if you do have plans outside tonight. Let's bring in Jessica Smith with a look at the current conditions. What do we need to know, Jess?
Cloud cover right now, but the active weather moves in just in time for the commute tomorrow. So as we see temperatures rise a little bit, we'll get kind of a trade-off with messier weather. For this evening, it is cold, so if you're going out for a walk, maybe you're going to walk over to watch the Raptors tonight, you're going to need layers. It is going to be cool as you head out this evening. The wind chill values into that kind of minus 15 to 20 range, depending on where you are in southern Ontario. We are looking at a freezing rain warning starting in towards Windsor and kind of Chatham-Kent area. We'll see how this expands as we head through the evening as the system makes its way across southern Ontario. Right now, we're holding on with those double-digit wind chill values, and it doesn't get any warmer as we head through the rest of our evening. Through the islands and Pearson, it feels like minus 9 tonight. That wind chill minus 14. Coming up, we'll break down the active weather tomorrow and what you can expect into the end of the week. But right now, it's back over to Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. The Prime Minister will host a Canada-U.S. economic summit in Toronto on Friday amid the looming threat of U.S. tariffs.
Canadian politicians are working to prevent the levies from happening at all. And there was a great deal at play today. CTV News senior political correspondent Mike Lecoutel has the details.
Even though punishing tariffs are on pause for 28 more days, a number of politicians use the threat of a trade war to propose policies that could address concerns from the Oval Office. At a campaign stop east of Toronto, Doug Ford continued to make U.S. President Donald Trump the central issue of the Ontario election. While Ford praised the federal government's border plan to stave off tariffs, he raised a few issues on a virtual call with the Prime Minister and other premiers this morning.
I've asked the federal government who is the czar when it comes to drugs overall, especially fentanyl. We have to break down the silos if it becomes to the RCMP or any other police services.
A senior government source tells CTV News work is underway to name the person who will coordinate all the logistics that go with tracking the deadly drug and its precursors. With Trump's trade war still looming, two people who aspire to be prime minister rolled out policy planks today directed at Donald Trump's concerns. Pierre Poilievre says a conservative government will impose life sentences on anyone convicted of trafficking more than 40 milligrams of fentanyl.
This penalty that I propose is proportionate to the crime. If you kill dozens of people, you should go away for life.
While in Windsor, Liberal leadership candidate Mark Carney promised to address other irritants with the U.S., like hitting Canada's NATO spending target in 5 years. He also proposed diversifying trade so we're not so reliant on the U.S.
We should become the essential trading partners of countries that share our values, including the UK, the EU, and leaders in Asia.
That type of diversification is so critical that the Prime Minister announced a Canada-U.S. economic summit this Friday. The goal is to bring together business leaders and look at ways to strengthen trade with other countries in the face of American protectionism. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
City councillors also reacting to the threat of tariffs today.
In a rare unanimous vote, councillors endorsed a Buy Toronto plan. CTV's Natalie Johnson has more.
In a symbolic show of support, Toronto City Council today unanimously rejected the idea of Canada becoming an American state.
We will stand together in Toronto Council and demonstrate that we can be united.
Together green-lighting the development of a Buy Local campaign, which would encourage residents and businesses to source Canadian goods to push back against the president.
We should be doing this regardless of Trump. I hope that one positive thing that will come out of this whole chaotic chapter is, rather than define ourselves for what we're not, we should celebrate who we are. We are a Canadian community, and we should be supporting our local businesses and entrepreneurs.
City Hall itself has plenty of purchasing power to leverage hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts for housing, the TTC, police, and more.
This is the moment for us to accelerate those efforts, and our procurement as a city is one of the greatest levers that we have.
The mayor has tasked the city manager with reviewing procurement policies and existing deals with American suppliers.
How much money are we talking about here?
The top bureaucrat telling council today it is not a quick and simple process.
What we're looking at is what is that percentage that is purely from an American perspective, but there's lots of complexity to the issue of procurement and where things are procured.
Staff estimate that U.S. goods and services constitute less than 10% of the city's procurement, but the dollar value is still significant when the budget is in the billions.
I think we should be further along in our response, and we are going to have to take action as a city to make sure that our businesses stay open and people keep their jobs.
We've got to inoculate ourselves against the next wave of this tariff hysteria, and so we've got to really protect ourselves because they're coming at us again.
The 30-day reprieve in tariffs buying City Hall more time to cross the T's and its strategy. The Toronto tactic, just one battle in a bigger trade war being watched countrywide. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And later on CTV News, local retailers say shoppers seem to be continuing their efforts to buy Canadian, even though the tariffs are on pause for now. CTV's Beth McDonnell will have more.
Provincial police say a homeowner is unaccounted for after a fire last night in the town of Bancroft in Hastings County. OPP say they responded to reports of a house fire on Meadow Court just after 8 p.m. Police at the scene reported the home was engulfed in flames when they arrived. Police have brought in their forensic identification unit to help determine what took place. The local crime unit, the Office of the Fire Marshal, and the Bancroft Fire Department are also assisting in the search for answers, as investigators appeal to the public for any information.
Dozens more charges have been laid against two suspects in connection with rock-throwing incidents in Markham and Whitchurch-Stouffville. A 17-year-old boy and 18-year-old man are now charged with 31 additional counts of mischief under $5,000. The 17-year-old is also charged with one count of assault with a weapon. Both suspects were charged late last month in connection with a York Regional Police investigation into more than 24 rock-throwing incidents. The incidents began last July, some of which targeted moving vehicles.
So we are aware of a total of 29 incidents that date back to July 2024. These two males, a 17-year-old and 18-year-old, are now responsible for at least 20 of these incidents. And so there are 9 incidents still outstanding, and our investigators continue to work to figure out who is responsible for the 9 additional incidents.
Meanwhile, the OPP is investigating 11 similar incidents on Highway 48 in Markham. In one case, a driver was struck by a rock, causing them to crash. 2 people were critically injured as a result of that collision. So far, no charges have been laid in those incidents.
Toronto police have arrested a physician accused of sexually assaulting a patient at a Scarborough medical clinic. Police say the alleged incident happened in November of 2023 at a clinic near Tapscott and Nielsen Road. It was reported that a woman was sexually assaulted by a dermatologist during an examination. On January 31st of this year, the Sex Crimes Unit says it arrested 76-year-old Paul Adam of Toronto on a charge of sexual assault. Investigators believe there may be other victims who've yet to come forward. Meanwhile, the York Regional Police Special Victims Unit is searching for this suspect. He's wanted in an alleged sexual assault on a bus in Vaughan last Thursday. Investigators say he boarded the public transit vehicle at around 4:30 p.m. near Kipling and Highway 7 and sat next to a victim before touching her in a sexual manner. He left the bus at Vaughan Metropolitan Center just before 5. If you recognize him, you're asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers.
Tributes continue to pour in for the late Aga Khan, who died yesterday at the age of 88.
Today, at the reading of his will, his successor was named. CTV's Rahim Ladani has more.
Shahnaz Husseini and her family are refugees from Afghanistan who now call Portugal home. They came to Lisbon with the help of the Aga Khan Foundation and are mourning the death of His Highness Prince Karim Al Husseini Aga Khan.
He was an example for the humanity for all around the world. He served all his life for the people, not only for the Ismaili community.
The Aga Khan was born into a Muslim family and is considered by his followers to be a direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad. After succeeding his grandfather at the age of 20, he became the spiritual leader of 15 million Shia Ismaili Muslims. For the next nearly 7 decades, he was the community's pillar of spiritual guidance and strength.
For most Ismailis who are living today, this is the first time that they've witnessed such an event. It is a moment of sadness and reflection.
In his will, the Aga Khan named his eldest son, Prince Rahim Al Husseini Aga Khan, as his successor. The designation passes on the spiritual light in unbroken succession to the now 50th Imam of the Ismaili community.
For many, many decades, Prince Rahim has been intimately involved in the various development and community institutions established by his father.
Throughout his 88 years of life, the Aga Khan championed numerous initiatives. From building schools to hospitals, his work stemmed from a common principle, which he shared while addressing Canadian Parliament in 2014.
It grows out of the age-old Islamic ethic, committed to goals with universal relevance: the elimination of poverty, access to education, and social peace in a pluralist environment.
In 1972, when Ugandan dictator Idi Amin banished Asians from Uganda, the Aga Khan persuaded then Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau to welcome thousands of Ismailis to Canada. In 2010, he became only the 5th person to be made an honorary Canadian citizen. In 2017, he helped open the Global Centre for Pluralism in Ottawa.
Diversity does not weaken a society, it strengthens it.
In Toronto, the Aga Khan Museum stands as a testament to His Highness's commitment to bridging cultures. One of his favorite artifacts inside is said to be this Arabic and Greek astrolabe.
And the reason that he said that he loved it so much is because it brought all faiths and civilizations together, and as it was a compass going in a direction together. We can learn a lot from the Aga Khan.
Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
There's international condemnation following Donald Trump's proposal to transfer more than 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza and have the territory taken over by the U.S.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs.
The U.S. president spoke yesterday about transforming the devastated enclave into the Riviera of the Middle East, where international communities could live in harmony. The United Nations and a number of countries, including Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Germany, have indicated they oppose the idea. Today, members of the Trump administration said Gazans would be temporarily relocated for the rebuilding process. Still, the very notion of Palestinians being displaced has prompted a defiant response.
If President Trump wants to create a Riviera, then let it be with Palestinians in their homeland, in their land of their ancestors. We have tried refuge before, we have tried displacement before, and it will not happen again. We have said it over and over, the Palestinian leadership, our president. People have made it very clear that we will not leave our land.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says there is no role for Hamas in the governance of Gaza. We support Palestinians' right to self-determination, including from being forcibly displaced from Gaza. Melanie Joly says Canada remains committed to achieving a two-state solution. The European Union insists Gaza should be an essential part of a future Palestinian state.
This afternoon, Donald Trump signed an executive order designed to prevent transgender athletes from participating in girls' or women's sports.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
Supporters say the directive will restore fairness, but critics say it infringes on the rights of a very small number of athletes. The order calls for immediate enforcement nationwide, but it is likely to face legal challenges.
Earlier in the day, the U.S. president's pick to lead a government department was sworn in.
I do solemnly swear.
I, Pamela Bondi, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Pamela Bondi is the new Attorney General of the United States. She vowed to restore integrity to the Justice Department and fight violent crime. The former Florida Attorney General was confirmed by the Senate yesterday. Trump praised her record as a prosecutor and said she will restore impartial justice at the department.
In Antarctica, a fossil discovery has revealed the oldest known modern bird. The 68-million-year-old fossil is from a creature related to the modern mallard duck and was about the same size. It belonged to an extinct species of bird that lived when Tyrannosaurus rex roamed parts of North America. Most birds that lived then had toothed beaks and long bony tails, but this species displayed modern characteristics such as a toothless beak.
Coming up, signs of the summer season. Thousands of jobs on offer at one of the GTA's biggest attractions, and thousands of spots now up for grabs at the city's camps.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, following the strike at Canada Post, the post office is still struggling to catch up with mail service. We've been getting complaints and decided to send letters across Canada to see how long they would take to arrive. The results are just ahead.
And it's been a fairly seasonal day, albeit a little cool in some parts of southern Ontario. But heading into the day tomorrow, there's a warm up on the way, but it comes at a bit of a price. There's a system set to bring freezing rain and snow for some right across southern Ontario. Coming up, I'll have your full forecast. And stay with us. We have another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
It's been 7 weeks since Canada Post ended a month-long strike, which brought the Postal Service to a standstill just before the holidays.
Even though the strike has been over since mid-December, the post office still appears to have some issues working through the big backlog. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle and Nathan. We get complaints about the mail being late, and that was before the strike. Since the strike ended, many people are still concerned about delays. We decided to conduct a test to see how long it would take for letters to be delivered to different parts of the country. Canada Post went on strike in mid-November, and mail and parcel service came to a stop until workers were ordered back on the job December 17th. There was a huge backlog, and while the post office says it's getting back on track, many Canadians have noticed delays in receiving their mail. CTV News decided to conduct an experiment. Consumer Alert producer Farah Chandani wrote 6 letters to our friends and colleagues at CTV stations in Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, Montreal, Halifax, and one to myself in Toronto. It's Thursday, January the 9th, just after 10:30 in the morning, so let's see how long it takes these letters to get to where they're supposed to go. CTV Halifax was the first to receive their letter in 7 days, along with CTV Ottawa, which also had it arrive in 1 week. Next was CTV Edmonton, which received their letter in 9 days. Even though my letter was mailed in the GTA, it took 12 days for me to receive it in Toronto. CTV Vancouver didn't receive their letter until 19 days later, and CTV Montreal is still waiting for theirs. They have yet to receive it. When CTV News reached out to Canada Post, a spokesperson said, "We thank Canadians for their patience and that while we've stabilized our operations and taken care of the parcels in our network, we continue to work through higher volumes of mail."
When you actually have to deal with the backlog of all of the mail that had accumulated, it probably takes a good month to 2 months before things get back to usual.
A professor of economics is not surprised Canada Post has been running behind with its deliveries. Moshe Lander says despite fewer Canadians using the Postal Service, it continues to struggle to deliver mail in a timely manner.
Canada Post is in terminal decline. There's no way around it. The volume is falling in a way that it's never going to come back. The end is near.
Canada Post says it's working to continue to restore normal operations, but if you're expecting something in the mail, it's not clear how long you'll have to wait to get it. And even though the strike ended in mid-December, some viewers told us it took almost a month to get their Christmas and holiday cards. Many credit card statements and utility bills also arrived about a month late. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Someone we work with said they got a Christmas card in the mail yesterday.
I got my friend Courtney's Christmas card last week. Cute pic of her son Harvey. I mean, better late than never. I was happy to get it, even though Christmas is long over.
You know, it's just one of those things that you have to just sit and wait. The weather, we've been waiting for the system to come. We were watching it for the past couple of days. Today, not so bad. We saw a decent amount of sunshine out there, but heading into the day tomorrow, it gets messy thanks to kind of a competition between warmer air to the south and colder air to the north. And who wins is, well, the messy weather. The good news, though, is at least today we had some sunshine out there. And if you wanted to get out for a walk, enjoy the winter weather, we had some lighter winds, although, yes, it was cold. It was a lighter wind day and lots of sunshine out there. And it makes all the difference this time of year when we really are getting into that time of year where the sunset is getting a little bit later as we head throughout the rest of this month and into March. But for now, we're sitting at -6. It feels like -10. Ottawa, significantly cooler. And the same for our friends in Northern Ontario. This evening, we're dropping down to -7, so pretty seasonal, but you factor in the wind chill and it's obviously a little cold at -14, but everybody holding on at a fairly seasonal point. We are looking, though, at a freezing rain warning from Windsor through to kind of Chatham-Kent area, and this is as the system pushes up. We'll see if these warnings progress. As we get closer to the GTA, it falls more as a wet snow, and we're looking at 1 to maybe 3 centimeters, but it doesn't take much to make it a slick commute tomorrow morning. We're looking at 2 degrees for the high. We should be around -2 for this time of year. You factor in the wind chill, it's still a little cool out there, but we don't reach that 2 degrees until much later in the afternoon. So as the system comes through, it's falling through colder air. So keep that in mind. The snow likely to be either a little wet or mixed with some freezing rain. As we head throughout the rest of our day today, high pressure gets pushed out. This system rolls in. The, saving grace is that it is not an all-day affair. This really kind of wraps up late morning and in towards the lunch hour. So timing it all out, we get through the rest of our evening with just some cloud cover out there. The early morning hours tomorrow, it goes through Windsor, through London, and then gets to us right around 5:30 in the morning. So just in time for the commute for a lot of people. By about 9, the bulk of it is done and pushes its way east. And then as we head into the lunch hour, a lot of cloud cover, but a break from the active weather. It settles itself north and east of the GTA. Getting into the evening, we will see the chance of maybe a light passing flurry, but the bulk of the active weather is gone. As we get in towards your Friday morning, we wrap up the work and school week. We see a little bit of sunshine out there, but the chance of flurries is going to linger as we see a little bit of lake effect snow in towards Georgian Bay. As we head in towards the days ahead, we kind of still hover in that just above or just below seasonal points. We don't quite get to where we should be really at any point throughout the week. But at least tomorrow it is mild after all that active weather rolls through. More sunshine into our Friday. And then as we head in towards the weekend, the second round of snow is going to be on Saturday. So it's not, again, an all-day affair. But if you're traveling anywhere this weekend, give yourself extra time. Heading into Sunday, probably busy for a lot of people. But it is going to be one of those days, maybe stay inside, it'll be a little cool. And looking ahead to next week, we finally settle into a sort of more seasonal forecast until we get to Wednesday, and then the cold returns with a vengeance. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Jess.
Thanks.
Looking ahead to the warmer months, Canada's Wonderland is getting ready to open its gates to the public later this year. But first is looking for the staff to make that happen. The theme park kicked off its annual hiring campaign with approximately 4,000 seasonal positions to fill. Details are on the Six Flags website. Canada's Wonderland opens for the season on May 8th.
And registration opened today for the city's summer camp Programs, Camp TO, they're offered from early July through late August in dozens of neighborhoods, welcoming kids and youth ages 4 to 16. If passed, the mayor's proposed budget will also see mid-morning snacks provided at 45 sites. Camp TO registration is completed on the city's website with phone assistance available. And speaking of summer camp, the stars of the popular 2000s kids movie series Camp Rock surprised fans at a local bar last night. After the break, we'll tell you what brought the Jonas Brothers to Yorkville.
An estimated 8,300 children and youth are in foster care in Ontario, but the number of foster care givers is on the decline.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more on a new initiative focused on ensuring kids at risk have the support they need.
Kivna Dave is a longtime foster parent or alternative caregiver, but 8 years ago, she and her husband weren't sure they'd be accepted.
We thought we were too young. We thought that because we rented a home, we might be not qualified, or because we didn't have our own kids, we might be disqualified. And so I think through that process, we were learning so many misconceptions that we realized weren't actually problems.
Since then, they've had several teens in their care, one for as long as 4 years. She says it's not always easy, but it is very rewarding.
Kids coming into care have gone through some really hard experiences, and so a big challenge is really making space to navigate trauma well. I think it takes a lot of patience, and I think that there are moments of late nights and hard conversations.
For the first time ever, 7 GTA agencies have come together, basically in a united call for new foster caregivers who can provide temporary supportive homes for children and youth. So it's called There to Care.
Jennifer Robbins says in 90% of the cases, the children stay with their family, but occasionally alternative care is needed.
Extreme concern for like abuse, neglect, or sometimes parents just maybe aren't coping with children, because we do have children with some pretty extensive behavioral issues.
But recently, retirements and transitions among their pool of long-term caregivers have reduced their number by 34% since 2020. They're especially looking for support for Indigenous children.
We don't necessarily need a child to go into a home that has Indigenous caregivers. What we do is we offer a training program that covers the essential areas like child welfare, child development. We do a cultural competency training.
I think that anyone who is willing to care for a youth and has a safe space to do so and resources to use would be a good fit.
If you're interested in learning more, go to theretocare.ca. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The Jonas Brothers have been in Toronto in recent weeks working on a movie, and they surprised fans last night at a Camp Rock-themed trivia event.
Best of luck. I hope the best table wins. Cheers. We didn't think that we'd be any good in this, but we did study in the car on the way here, just in case.
The trio realized the event at Hemingway's in Yorkville was just a few minutes away from their hotel, so they thought they'd stop by. The brothers said they were grateful for the enthusiastic welcome, calling their fans the best fans in the world.
Fresh off his surprise performance at the Grammys, The Weeknd is out with a first look at his new feature film. The musical thriller shares a title with the Toronto star's new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. The Weeknd plays a version of himself with Barry Keoghan and Jenna Ortega co-starring. The film hits theaters in May, and today fans got their first chance to snag pre-sale tickets to the Weeknd's concerts at Rogers Centre this summer. A fourth show was added today with sales to the general public starting on Friday.
After the break, from boycotting U.S. products to buying local, how Toronto businesses are benefiting from the pro-Canadian trend.
Me and my family, we hear these loud bangs on our door, so we go to see who it is. And then it's these two guys saying, call 911.
Updating our top stories, a 16-year-old boy is dead. Another man is in hospital after a double shooting in Etobicoke. It happened inside an apartment building near Rathburn in the East Mall last night. Investigators say 16-year-old Isaiah Foga died in hospital. At this point, police are looking for 2 suspects.
This is the moment for us to accelerate those efforts, and our procurement as a city is one of the greatest levers that we have.
Toronto City Council voted unanimously to endorse a buy local strategy. City staff will review procurement policies and existing deals with American suppliers. City Hall deals with hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts for things like housing, transit, and police.
The era of road tolls on provincial roads and highways, they're done, they're over.
And the 407 was the focus of 2 provincial party leaders in the campaign trail today. Doug Ford says if re-elected, he will take the tolls off the stretch of Highway 407 that is owned by the province. NDP leader Marit Stiles says she will kill tolls on the entire highway within the first 100 days if elected. The Liberals unveiled a promise to double supports for recipients of ODSP in Ontario Works.
And remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos, or video of breaking news, let us know.
There's an international scramble for gold, pushing bullion to a new record today. Andrew Balabian and Bloomberg brings us the latest in business.
Hello there. Gold traded at a new high north of $2,861 US an ounce today, fueled in part by a rush to move bullion into the US before tariffs kick in. Markets are also worried about the fallout from trade wars, particularly between the US and China. Weeks-long queues have built up to withdraw gold from the Bank of England's vaults. Shares in big gold names such as Agnico Eagle and Wheaton Precious Metals hit record highs today in Toronto. Gold has now soared almost 40% since the start of last year. The Canadian dollar was higher. It changed hands at 69.85 US cents, up a fraction. West Texas Intermediate oil traded at $71.03, down $1.67. Western Canadian Select oil at our latest fix was $58.28, down 36 cents. And the TSX Composite finished at 25,569.84, up just over 290 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
We told you earlier about the City of Toronto's new plan to encourage people to buy local.
Some local retailers say the Buy Canadian campaign launched in the face of tariffs appears to have taken off, even if the tariffs haven't yet. CTV's Beth McDonnell has more.
In East York, the machines are humming at the Great Canadian Socks Company. The outfitter has been making apparel to keep Canadians' feet comfortable since 1877. Today, 95% of the brands sold at its Toronto stores are also Canadian. And given the chaos surrounding U.S. tariffs, people are taking more notice.
We've definitely seen an uptick in people reaching out online and also in stores, so that's been great. We hope it continues with everything going on. It's nice to see people starting to really be concerned about where their goods come from.
Sid Camasia is one of the owners. He says while there has been a large group of people who have sought out Canadian products, and it is a good selling point for his company, the latest spat has been a wake-up call with consumers.
I think this has really gotten people motivated to look for Canadian and be more conscious about where their goods come from. So I think it will last. I'm not sure in terms of how long and what will happen when the 30 days is up, but I think it's a good thing. And I hope people continue to support Canadian.
The most delicious dipped marshmallows for us. Over in the beach, 100% of shop makers' artisan goods are Canadian, with many of them made nearby in the neighborhood. The company rents space to the makers and has several stores in the GTA and across Canada.
All of our locations, all 16 of them, have seen an increase in foot traffic, an increase in spending in our stores, and that's wonderful news for our artisans. We love to see that.
Manager Jamie Baker says it's been lovely speaking with people about making mindful purchases.
It's halfway shock. There's a little bit of anger, of course. There's a little bit of hurt. I think we're really seeing the full range of it.
Baker says with around 2/3 of Canadian businesses either small or medium-sized, supporting local does have an impact. And with so much uncertainty looming, Shopmaker says there has never been a more important time to buy Canadian. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
Cybersecurity researchers are sounding the alarm over a popular new artificial intelligence tool. Chinese AI company DeepSeek revealed a chatbot that generates responses to voice prompts similar to ChatGPT. A Canadian cybersecurity company called Root Security says it's found coding that could send DeepSeek user data to a state-owned telecommunications company in China. DeepSeek hasn't commented. The analysis only looked at the web version of DeepSeek and not the mobile version. It remains one of the most downloaded apps on both iPhones and Androids. It was a good day for Disney investors as the company easily topped first quarter expectations. The media giant earned over $2.5 billion US for the period ending December 28th. Revenue also beat Wall Street estimates. Analysts say Disney had an especially strong performance in its content sales and licensing thanks to the success of Moana 2. Disney Plus also saw a 1% increase in streaming subscribers across the U.S. and Canada, compared to a 2% drop elsewhere.
The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board is expecting a more active 2025 for home sales compared to last year. The board is forecasting around 76,000 home sales by year's end. That would mark a 12% jump from 2024. Today's report says a mix of lower borrowing costs and ample supply will improve affordability and get buyers off the sidelines. January's home sales signaled that increase in homes on the market. There were around 3,800 transactions, down from last year, but there were more than 12,000 new listings, a year-over-year increase of 48.6%. The average sale price in the GTA was $1.04 million.
Toronto Raptors look to rebound tonight after a loss to one of the best teams in the NBA.
Ochai puts it on the deck, uses a left, nice move.
Toronto lost 121-115 last night to the visiting New York Knicks. Tonight, the Raptors host Memphis, which is in second place in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies have won 3 in a row.
Larson on it. Matthews back for 9. Nylander shoots, scores!
William Nylander led the way with his second career hat trick as the Leafs beat Calgary 6-3 last night. The win leaves Toronto 1 point behind the Florida Panthers for first place in the Atlantic Division. The Buds are in Seattle tomorrow night. And speaking of that game, just ahead, the ultimate surprise for a Leafs superfan whisked away to watch his beloved team play. An iconic Maple Leaf veteran on hand for the excitement.
Finally tonight, it was the surprise of a lifetime for a Toronto Maple Leafs fan who's now on his way to see the team play in Seattle.
And that surprise got an extra assist from a former Maple Leafs player. CTV's Sean Leithong explains.
He arrived at Pearson Airport not knowing why he's here, his mother having kept the secret.
It was good. We kept it as a surprise right up till we got here.
17-year-old Chad Stopa drove 4 hours with his family from Barry's Bay. He's an elite sledge hockey player, a member of Team Ontario and Team Canada. He's also a huge Leafs fan.
So he started playing sledge hockey and just fell in love with the sport, started watching it, and then he decided he was a Leafs fan, and nothing has wavered that love for the Leafs. So,
Chad! So when he saw Leafs great Darcy Tucker calling his name, Stopa knew this was going to be a great day.
We're here to send you to Seattle to watch the Leafs playing the Krakens. How do you think about that? It's awesome.
Is that awesome? Chad, along with his parents Anita and Adam, as well as his brother Eli, are the recipients of the Air Canada fan flight, leaving from Pearson today and getting a chance to see his beloved Leafs on the road.
Honestly, it's fantastic. I love the Leafs. I love hockey, so it'll be a great opportunity to go and watch them.
Stopa has spina bifida and is living with type 1 diabetes. He found sledge hockey at an early age. Beyond playing, Stopa is an advocate for the game, running clinics for kids to be introduced to sledge hockey.
I mean, the game means a lot. Just getting to meet new people, getting to play with people with disabilities as well, getting to play the same game, it's just awesome.
The Air Canada fan flight selects one lucky fan of each of the 7 Canadian teams. Now he'll get to cheer on the Leafs in Seattle when they take on the Kraken tomorrow.
You know, when I was playing, you'd see our fans in different venues all over the world, and to be able to have that opportunity to give this out today is pretty special.
Chad was nominated months ago through the Air Canada Foundation, which made it hard on his family.
I'm not a very good secret keeper, so it was very tough.
Seeing his face was like the cherry on top.
And as fun as this may be, it won't be anything close to tomorrow at the game. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
You know, that's a thrill of a lifetime.
That's so. Maybe we'll be able to spot him in the crowd at the game tomorrow. That's great. Okay, tomorrow we have to deal with some snow, but it does warm up a tad.
It does. We get a little bit of everything tomorrow. We get snow, we also get a little bit of freezing rain, and then we get temperatures above seasonal. Right now, though, it is cold. We're at -6, feeling like -10 here in the city, and it doesn't get warmer tonight, but the change happens tomorrow late in the day. As you're making your way out tomorrow morning, give yourself extra time between the rain and the freezing rain and the snow. It is going to be a messy commute. But we do warm up later in the day to an above seasonal Thursday before we cool back down heading into the weekend.
Thank you, Jess. That's it for us. But you can join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.